If you've spent any time at all in software development, you definitely know the feeling. That weird sense of déjà vu, right? It's the same problems, the same mistakes, just on a different project. Well, what if I told you there's actually a formal language to describe these recurring traps? A vocabulary that once you learn it can totally change how you build things. Take a look at this number for a second, 84%. According to industry analysis, that's how many software projects are considered, well, unsuccessful. That's a huge number, and it points to a really deep systemic problem that you just can't fix by jumping on the next shiny new technology. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The software industry often gets caught in this endless cycle of hype and then disappointment. Whether it's business objects or software agents or whatever the latest buzzword is, we're always told this is the thing that will finally fix everything. But the real, fundamental problems, they just keep sticking around. But there was this brief, shining moment when the industry stumbled upon a truly promising solution. An idea that wasn't about a new tool at all, but about capturing wisdom itself. And believe it or not, the idea didn't even start with code. It started with architecture, like actual buildings. An architect named Christopher Alexander created something called a pattern language for designing towns. Then, in the late 80s, some very smart developers saw the absolute genius in this and adapted it to software, creating a way to capture the knowledge of expert engineers and share proven solutions to common problems. And this was a game changer. All of a sudden, developers had a shared vocabulary. Terms like adapter, which is for connecting two things that don't fit together, or facade, for creating a simple front for a really complex system, they became common knowledge. So instead of a long, vague explanation, you could just say, hey, let's use an adapter here, and boom, the whole team knew exactly what you meant. It just completely elevated the conversation. But here comes the reality check. Even with this new language for success, teams were still falling into the same old destructive traps over and over again. It became pretty clear that we didn't just need a vocabulary for good solutions, we needed one for the bad ones too. And that's exactly where the anti-pattern comes in. Now, the crucial thing to understand here is that an anti-pattern isn't just a bad idea or a simple mistake. No, it's a common response to a recurring problem. It's the solution that seems like a good idea at the time. It's the easy path, right? That ultimately turns out to be a massive trap. So here's probably the simplest way to think about it. A design pattern is a well-lit path, a proven solution. An anti-pattern? Well, that's a well-trodden path that leads right off a cliff. One is like building a solid bridge to get you to success. The other is a bridge that collapses right when you're in the middle. Okay, theory is great and all, but let's get to the good stuff. Let's take a look at a little gallery of common anti-patterns, and I'm willing to bet a few of these are going to feel uncomfortably familiar. We'll start at the code level. Let me introduce you to the blob, or as it's sometimes called, the God class. Oh, you've seen this one. This is that one single monstrous class in your system that knows everything and does everything. It hogs all the business logic, it holds most of the data, and it makes it nearly impossible to test, reuse, or change anything without breaking a dozen other things. And here's how you fix it. In the before image, that library main control class is a classic blob. It's just a tangled mess. The solution is something called refactoring. We systematically and carefully move all those responsibilities out into smaller, more focused classes. The result? A system where every little piece has a single, clear purpose. It's not just cleaner, it's more stable, it's easier to maintain, and frankly, you can actually understand it. But anti-patterns aren't just about code. They're about people and processes too. So let's look at a management anti-pattern that can quietly and completely sabotage an entire project. This is called mushroom management. The policy is, basically, to intentionally keep developers separate from the real end users. Requirements get passed down the chain secondhand, and developers never get to ask clarifying questions or see how their work is actually being used. And the massive, massive risk here? You spend months, maybe even years, perfectly engineering the exact wrong product. So the fix is to do the complete opposite, get rid of the darkness. Instead of one giant delivery at the end, you build in small, iterative cycles. And each one of those cycles delivers something the user can actually see and touch and play with. This creates a constant feedback loop, which is the single best way to make sure you're building what people actually need, not just what you think they need. And here's one more classic for you, the golden hammer. This is when you get so comfortable with one particular tool, a database, a framework, whatever, that you use it for every single problem you run into, whether it's the right fit or not. It's a trap of familiarity that almost always leads to clunky, inefficient, and really difficult to maintain systems. So we've talked about the blob, mushroom management, the golden hammer, but what's the point of all this? The goal isn't just to point fingers or complain. It's to find a better way to talk about these problems so that we can actually, finally solve them. And this right here is the core idea. The true power of anti-patterns is that they give us a shared name for a problem. It totally shifts the conversation. Instead of saying, Bob, your code is a mess, which is personal and makes people defensive, you can say, hey team, I think we might have a blob forming here. See the difference? It's no longer about blame. It's about collaboratively identifying a known issue so we can work together to fix it. So here it is, the simple 4-step process. First, you identify the problem. Second, you name it using this vocabulary. That lets you discuss it as a team, objectively, without anyone getting their feelings hurt. And finally, you refactor it, applying the known, proven solution to a known problem. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you have this new lens, take a look at your own work, your own teams, your own processes. Which anti-patterns do you see every day? Because naming them, that's the first step to finally fixing them.